All right, YouTube, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking Auburn football, go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Been a pretty tough week, especially when you look at social media, other outlets. Even for my channel, it's been pretty tough. Got a lot of interesting comments on the channel. And, you know, usually during the season, it's going to be tough because the emotions are high. Fans are at a high peak. You're not distracted by the recruiting. You're not distracted by any other aspect of the game other than actually playing and getting results, whether there be a win or a loss. Now, when you do follow recruiting, you can kind of see where chronologically everything kind of adds up. But the fans don't want to hear that. The fans want to hear, okay, Bo threw 3 interceptions. Gus Malzahn should have took him out of the game. Blah, 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 blah. This week, Auburn taking on Ole Miss. Some things Auburn's got to clean up. The discipline has got to be cleaned up, for one. There's no reason for any player to be mouthing off at the coach, to be, excessively mouthing off on the field. Now, me personally, I really didn't see a huge problem, especially on defense. I like that kind of stuff because that's when I was a football player, I was a mouthy kind of football player. You know what I'm saying? I'm all in your face. I'm one of those kind of guys. So I wasn't being overly judgmental by that. But when you start getting into it with your teammates and it being open and also having backlash with your coach, that's where things started to get a little testy. And you can tell this team is obviously frustrated. They want to get this thing to the next level, and there's something that's just not clicking. And I can tell you from experience, having been on a team similar to this, a lot of it has to do with coaching, because I think the coaches are not making the right decisions at times to put players in the position to be successful. But at the same time, you can't negate 3 turnovers, though. I mean, when you're playing high-level football, I tell you guys all the time, 3 turnovers or turnovers, period, penalties, and Auburn committed a lot of them, are the great equalizers. I think this team overall, you rewind it back, you take away the turnovers, obviously, and that's obvious. I'm going to put it out there before any of you fans, make a negative comment in the comment section. That is obvious. You take away 3 turnovers. I bet you Tennessee would have liked to have taken away the turnovers. Ole Miss, 6 turnovers in that game where they only lost 33-21. Probably should have lost worse. So turnovers are definitely the great equalizer. As Auburn heads into this game against Ole Miss, it has been documented that Ole Miss can put up some points and they can roll up some yards. Auburn absolutely has to get back to running the football. 3 and outs. Bo Nix throwing the ball 50 times is not the move in this game. The move in this game is to establish even more balance. Statistically, Auburn did kind of sort of have balance last week. Had almost 500 yards, 116 yards coming from Tank Bigsby. Bo Nix throwing for 272 yards, but those 272 yards was on 47 pass attempts, and that's just not acceptable, including 3 interceptions. So as we start the journey through this week, we're starting to navigate what Auburn can do to piece this thing together. Yes, the fans don't want to hear nothing about no spring and all. They say, oh yeah, everybody didn't have a spring, but I will tell you, it affects some teams more than others. I'll tell you that right now. But one thing, Gus Malzahn this week, his leadership ability, he's going to have to pull this thing together on a lot of levels. Number one, he's going to have to reel Chad Morris back in. He's going to have to help Chad Morris with play calling because he knows his personnel better than Chad Morris does. Chad Morris didn't have a spring with these guys. Zoom meetings is not the way. He's going to have to get his hands right back on play calling. Number 2, he's going to have to get in the middle of the relationship between Seth and Bo Nix, because Seth Williams and Bo Nix, they have had an on-again, off-again relationship. This isn't the first time these two guys have gotten into it. I can't remember what game it was last year when they had somewhat of an exchange. So some kind of way, they're going to have to get in the middle and start the process of coaching these guys through having some continuity and being leaders on this team, because they are the presumed leaders on this team. On offense, Bo Nix, Seth Williams, and Eli Stove. And they're going to have to act like it. But when you have your presumed leaders behaving the way these guys did, then that does cause that fall apart. So that's really what I'm looking at. I want Auburn to win the football game for sure, but I really want to see how this discipline can be reeled in. All right, guys, there's going to be more information on this Auburn versus Ole Miss game. Still watching some film on Ole Miss to kind of get a grip of how Auburn can approach this game and what's going to be some of the best practices in order for them to have as much success as possible. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.